All right, and we are live. Let me just do a quick sound check on my end. Make sure that we have some good audio. All right, yep, we are good to go. Audio's working. What's up, guys? Welcome, everybody. Gonna try to keep this short as usual. And was just so October 3, 2025 of this year, Governor, don't know, the Brown Act is a very unique piece of legislation to the state of California. In fact, it is so powerful and frankly so little known that California is the one and only state to have such a powerful piece of legislation. Take a step back. The Brown Act specifically mandates that every uh, eligible government body, which is any city that has a residence level of 30,000 residents or higher, is subject to the Brown Act. And what that means is those government hearings that are public have to, by state law in the state of California, mandate a specific section of time to take public comment. And that means that anybody, as a member of the public, can go and speak their mind and petition the government during that section. And it's a dedicated session specifically just for that. That time is the people's time, and it cannot be taken away. And it is guaranteed at each and every one of these, including special meetings, so long as the meetings themselves are of a public nature. So things like closed session meetings where they might be discussing litigation for active lawsuits would not fall under the Brown Act, and those meetings would be closed to the general public. And usually, those are just the city attorney and the members of the city government discussing matters in closed session. But anyway, every public open meeting is subject to the Brown Act, and that means everything from city council meetings, committee meetings, commissions, neighborhood councils, and even county meetings. For example, in LA County, uh, these and commissions will even add a additional section for what they call non-agenda item public comment, which is you can speak to anything that does not have not listed on the agenda for that particular day. So that's the high level First Amendment aspect of the Brown Act in California. The other piece of the Brown Act is that it also makes a criminal act for a government official to violate your public comment period and suppress your speech during that public comment section. So, for example, if you're speaking during the public comment period and a member of the government cuts you off, each time that your time is cut off constitutes a one count criminal misdemeanor uh, violation and carries with it, in addition to the criminal liability, which calls for 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. That can also the district attorney to prosecute it as such. And by default, it is a misdemeanor each and every time for when you have your public comment violated, as well as carrying a $2,000 fine payable directly not by the city, but by the official charged as such. It's essentially a powerful weapon against qualified immunity that is very unique to California. And I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions and anything else in between about California. Say what you want about the state of California. The fact of the matter is, California has some of the strongest and best state laws compared to any other state in uh, United States, especially when it comes to having the right to speak and having a dedicated amount of time each and every time to publicly file your grievances and petition the government rather than the usual paths of having to contact some administrators, on your own time offline where it's not made immediately a matter of public record and stored as such. That's the other thing you have to realize about the Brown Act. The comments that are made are also recorded on what's known as the meeting minutes. So when a government agency has a public meeting, there are notes that are taken for what occurred during that meeting. That includes things like which council member made a motion, who seconded that motion, did the motion pass? If so, who voted yes, as well as who voted no? If it didn't pass, again, you take the polling of those votes. The comments made during public comment are also recorded in those meeting minutes, and you have a permanent public record, just like you have a court record as a matter of a permanent public record established. And so you have the protection and the guarantee of the people's ability to speak out and make public comment at each public meetings, and you have the criminal liability stripping away the qualified immunity of the particular government official that violates your public comment period and constitutes not only a violation of the Brown Act, but we've seen as well with a case I've mentioned before, City of LA, David Salzberg v. City of LA, where federally it was tried as a violation of the First Amendment, and it was upheld as such by the court, citing specifically that not only is the Brown Act as a protection, but generally speaking, when you are at an official public government hearing and you are petitioning your grievances against the government, that is classic protected First Amendment speech. And so there's protection on all sides in the state of California, and there's great case law to back that up. What we have today is a change and a modernization to the Brown Act. And what's happening from here on out is that for every public meeting, there also now must be virtual attendance for members of the public to attend. So you now have instituted by state law in the state of California as a modernization to the Brown Act, a change via Senate Bill 707, that these meetings have to also allow for virtual attendance. And virtual attendance in the context of the Brown Act directly constitutes that public comment must be taken virtually. Okay? And this is huge. And interestingly enough, during the COVID era, specifically for governments all across the US, but especially in Southern California, it was the case that they started doing virtual meetings anyway, strictly out of necessity. And it just makes sense, right? You have all the infrastructure in place, and I'm going to get to talking about what that infrastructure looks like. There's a clear need for it because many people simply cannot make it physically to these meetings each and every time. It's just not realistic for people to take off work. They might have responsibilities for their kids. They might have other family obligations. They might have school, a whole wide variety of things that they just can't make it in person each and every time to the meetings. But that doesn't mean they don't want to participate. Far from it, in fact. And one of the more recent examples of this is actually something that is very near and dear to me on a personal level because I know the individual, but also on a professional level because it's actually it's a business concept that I've worked greatly with a lot of good people and a lot of good friends that I've met throughout my career, where the case of Audit LA, and her case is not at all unique, but a lot of the folks in this community know about her specifically because she actually suffered a grave injury of not being able to transport herself and have independent mobility due to no fault of her own. Her wheelchair a couple months ago during the June period actually broke down, and she had to wait several months in order to get her medical wheelchair repaired and shipped back to her, and that took quite some time. And in that lapse, she was unable to attend those meetings. That is an incredibly common scenario that plays out not just for attending government hearings publicly, but any other facet of your life where people that have certain disabilities and things that are completely out of their control, like their chair breaking down, do not have the access to quick repairs and also cost efficient repairs. And I mentioned before, particularly at the Disability Commission, a good buddy of mine that's actually working on addressing this very issue by tackling it from the open source side. Where I'll just give a quick shout out to the Independent Mobility Foundation. They work tirelessly to address this issue. And if you want to learn more about them, you can check them out. I've been meaning to do a podcast with Tom on it, but I've just been so time strapped with things. But anyway, back to the topic at hand here. She was unable to attend through no fault of her own. Okay. And so it's not because she didn't have an interest. Of all the people that have an interest and passion and drive, Audit LA especially is somebody that comes to my mind, and it's at the top of that list. And again, many other people have obligations that they just can't get out of: work, family, and so on. Back in the COVID era, Los Angeles was already doing virtual meetings fully and completely, including taking virtual public comment. And the best part about that period of time is we actually have, via public records that I'm going to show you, that actually show all of the infrastructure still in existence to allow the city to quickly and immediately, at zero cost, resume taking virtual public comment. And the reason I say that is because I submitted a formal public records request where I demanded the city to itemize each of those pieces of electronic hardware equipment as well as the software licenses, to explain in great detail the costs associated with doing this virtual infrastructure, as well as any licensees or any other special video and audio equipment they might need. And definitively, I can tell you that the city of LA does not need to spend anything, absolutely zero, to resume doing so. They still have all of the same infrastructure, meaning the microphones, the video cameras, the speaker system, and even the software licensees for the virtual platform known as Zoom, which the city ubiquitously uses for holding these virtual meetings, to immediately resume taking virtual public comment for all of their meetings, including city council, city committees, and all their commissions as such. And so this screen share you see in front of you is actually a motion made by Padilla, and it's during the Government Operations Committee just at the end of October, where the implementation date for Senate Bill 707 that mandates the taking of virtual public comment by all public government hearings is July 1st, 2026. And this motion that Padilla made during City Council specifically asks for the Information Technology Agency of the City of Los Angeles. For those of you that don't know, this is the agency that specifically oversees any and every decision regarding the use and procurement of technology, whether it be a simple microphone used during city council meetings or the software used to register people to have public comment, as well as the Zoom platform. This agency, which they abbreviate as the ITA, that is the director, that is basically the all-powerful being that manages all things technology for the city. Laptops, microphones, software, that is what the agency dictates. And so I submitted a public records request to that same agency, and I posted on it on my channel, on Twitter, and a bunch of other places, actually showing their response, where I asked them to itemize for each and every room where all of these various meetings are held. I want you to list out how many microphones they have, the brand and model, if they work, and if you're paying anything for Zoom licensees and the level of license you have with Zoom to conduct meetings as such. And so they did. And so this motion I find very interesting, because this motion by Imelda Padilla at the end of October this year actually is basically posing the same question I did to the Information Technology Agency. We already have the answer to that. The answer is, in fact, that it costs absolutely zero to adhere to Senate Bill 707. In fact, today, right now, the city can 100% resume taking virtual public comment at zero cost. And I'm going to transition over to actually showing you the public records that I received, the CPRA as it's known in California, that verifies this claim. And what you're looking at here is a highlighted portion that I just switched over to on a document I received by the Information Technology Agency, where they expressly show here, as I highlighted in blue, that Zoom for the city of Los Angeles is completely and totally free. They do not need to obtain any sort of special licenses because the company grants it to them at zero cost as a government entity. Every agency, including the neighborhood councils, is entitled to a fully provisioned account on Zoom, which includes the recording, the chat logs, the AI summaries, and of course, the public meetings. Zoom is used by the state bar. It's used by the various commissions currently, like the Board of Public Works is one of those commissions. The Commission on Disability. There's already in use the Zoom platform, and right now, definitively through this public records obtained by the same agency that Imelda Padilla, a council member for CD6, motion to have the agency report back on. I am telling not only you, the people, but the council people, that that report already exists. It's in the form of this CPRA right here. In fact, today, the city of LA does not pay anything for any and all city agencies to use Zoom, and that use and those features in the platform include everything. And so that is very good news for us. It's very good news for Senate Bill 707 to officially mandate it as such on state law, not just leaving it up to local policies or ordinances, but by state law in California. Every meeting has to have virtual public comment by July 2026 is the cutoff. And so it's very good news because of the pressure that you guys have been putting on, because of the interest, and because of the countless letters of complaint. This is now an official state law that is fully required to be complied to by July 2026. And from there, we can now have more people attend these meetings and give public comment, because quite frankly, that is exactly what the city fears. That's exactly what every government agency fears, for the people to come and offer a public comment, because they don't want people to voice their grievances. They want to silence them. They want to shove them away as far as possible. And so this is very good news for us. Very, very good news. Senate Bill 707 in this capacity is a very powerful thing, and something that I think every state really should adopt. It should be no question, especially large metropolitan cities like New York City. SB 707, as well as the Brown Act in total, should just be the norm. There should not be any sort of debate about whether this should be implemented or not. It should be the norm all across the US, but at the very least, California sets the precedence in this regard. I'm really glad to see it, and so I just wanted to report that to you guys, keep it a very short and brief, and show you that in fact, yes, Zoom is completely free for all of the city of LA, as shown here by a CPRA from the very same agency, the Information Technology Agency. And I'll be submitting this as one of my comments to the council and speaking on it as well. And so with that, we'll see if anybody has any questions. But if not, I'm going to keep this short and just wrap it up here. Let's see. Oh, we've got some comments. Thanks, everybody. Let's see. E, welcome. All right. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.